Hey, you random stranger! It's time to get back into Haibane and the weird world that it started building up in episode 1. So, first or general impression so far, the look of the anime to me seems to be quite unique, even though I am far from an art slash designer kind of person. But it definitely uses less sharp, more muted colors than most of the other animes that I've watched, and it does kind of remind me a little bit of Girls Last Tour. Coincidentally, another very introspective, walking pace kind of anime, which this feels like it's going to be. So if Haibane turns out to be really reflective and philosophy heavy like Girls Last Tour, I would be very happy. Narratively, I'm appreciating the atmospheric sort of puzzle-like approach that's been taken so far. It's like we're being fed bits and pieces of an incomplete story, particularly through Raka's perspective, trying to just piece together a coherent explanation for who the Haibane are and why they ended up in this place, in this very European-looking rural town. And the music too, as someone who is really into music, it really lends itself to that atmosphere, that mystery as well. It's mostly classically inspired music. It's very heavy on piano and strings. And at one point, there was a track that even featured a clavichord. So really reinforcing that old-timey idyllic setting of old home. Okay, recap time. So we began with Raka, her dream of falling from the sky, and there's a crow that's flying right next to her. So crows themselves, they can be symbolic for any number of things, but often death or the afterlife or some kind of transformation, all of which are kind of really befitting for someone who's becoming a Haibane or who has been taken from their previous life and born into this one. This crow, though, was kind of like pulling up on Raka's dress as if to stop her from falling, but it couldn't, which I feel doesn't bode well for the kind of fate that Raka has in store for her. The way I interpreted it was, if a symbol of death is concerned for you and trying to prevent you from getting into something, it suggests that whatever life Raka is being condemned to might be worse than death itself. I don't know. So as Raka is falling, she utters a few contradictions. She's fluffy and warm, but anxious inside. She's not afraid, but her heart is cold. And at this point, she's encased inside a cocoon, which is obviously where the warmth is coming from, but it's not doing its job, I guess, of making her feel at ease. And ironically too, she distinguishes between being anxious, which she is, and being afraid, which apparently she isn't. Raka's definitely scared though, as soon as the clouds part and then she sees the town. Maybe it was just a sudden vertigo of realizing that she is actually rapidly plunging towards the ground. And I liked how in that moment, the music reflected her fear by suddenly ending on this very unresolved note that just kind of leaves you hanging in the air. And I feel like contradiction and unresolvedness are already turning out to be consistent themes in this show, giving it this overall sense of mystery that has me quite intrigued. The world that she's fallen into, old home, is it somewhere on Earth? Is it some kind of heaven, or is it a purgatory? Still not clear on that. If it is heaven, then it is a very different conception of the heaven that most people would normally conceive of. So immediately, we're just trying to figure this place out. Like, what did the kids do to be sent to old home or to be born into it? Is it a school or more a prison? Are they being like punished or rewarded or both? And what was odd to me is that they're raised in this huge building and apparently they have jobs and work to do, but is it voluntary? Or are they like victims of some larger plan that we'll find out about later? And on top of all that, nobody knows who or what they are. So there was a sense of real loss in the way that Reki explained to Raka why they're called Haibane. It was just for the sake of having something to be called by. So they can't exactly call themselves human or angels or anything else that's known or identifiable, which is quite sad. I mean, the name Haibane doesn't impart any meaning to their purpose of their lives. It's literally just a fill in the blank sort of stopgap name. It feels kind of insidious, the fact that these kids have no memories of their previous lives, and yet, at least in Raka's case, are still capable of missing and wanting to go home. So it's not just a physical prison, it's also like a mental one. Haibane are both the forgetful and the forgotten. So they wouldn't even be recognized by their own families, the ones that used to be part of their former lives. And the other thing I found pretty dodge was the fact that they're not allowed to leave old home, suggesting that something or someone is holding them there forcibly, even though Reki doesn't go into who or what that might be. A big part of why I warmed to the show almost immediately was the way that we were introduced to Reki. This first shot of Raka's cocoon really set up the mystery surrounding the story, and then you have Reki's reaction, the way her cigarette dropped out of her mouth and how she slowly backed out away from the room and then just legged it so she could tell people. And the first question really that popped into my head was, who is this chain-smoking angel and why is she so world weary? Or at least the way that she's drawn is just gives you this feeling that she's just done with life. But inside maybe there's like a kernel of hope or something that's keeping her going. Again, there's just this odd contradiction between, popular ideas of serene, glowing angels, and then there's Reki, who seems to have the wings and the halo of an angel, but does not fit at all the stereotype of what one should look like or behave like. There's an interesting dynamic developing with Reki where, despite her outward gruffness, seems to also have a reputation as a bit of a softie. For example, her menacing note warning the young feathers or like the younger Haibane to stay away and out of the room with the cocoon was actually also drawn in a very cute way. And then later, when Reki is basically being bullied by the younger kids, Kana says that she's just too soft on them. I feel like we all have to love a character that's very stern, but oddly and grudgingly also very caring and warm inside. I just like those shades of nuance where a character is not all that they appear to be. The unique vernacular that's used in this show or this world, and how the Haibane all seem to have accepted their situation, really pads out the mysteriousness that surrounds the story. I mean, they're born in these strange, very watery cocoons that grow in random places in this old worn down building, and they come out not as totally blank canvases, but as fully formed young people with developed senses, including the ability to understand language and some degree of like pre-existing knowledge that was probably retained from their past lives. So I guess the fact that they come out not as babies but as like actual kids, or maybe there are adults who come out of cocoons, who knows, is odd. It makes me wonder if Haibane age at all. There are kids that look younger than Raka, so I guess my question would be, what exactly determines the age at which, or the appearance of the age at which they come out of the cocoon? For example, Reki, did she come out of the cocoon already smoking and with this badass attitude? Who knows? I feel like we are dumped into the same situation that Raka is in, where all this new knowledge is quite overwhelming and confusing, and that actually works really well as a vehicle through which the narrative can explain things to us. As Raka learns new things about this world, so do we. The part where Raka was trying to claw her way out of the cocoon drew an interesting comment from Reki, who said that it's customary to let the Haibane fight their way out on their own. Don't help them from the outside. And to me, that suggested that this world requires, or would be kinder to someone who does develop a certain strength of character. And we don't know why exactly that would be the case, but I do get the feeling that it's not easy being a Haibane. So when she's just waking up, Raka thinks the pillows are still the clouds from her dream, but slowly she comes to and gets introduced to all her fellow Haibane, who are all very excited and just not that great at giving her personal space. So it was interesting seeing how excited they all were to find out what dream that Raka had had in the cocoon, as if the dream itself is a very significant factor. And it seems it is, given that what a Haibane dreams about also determines their names, what they're called. And it reminded me of how in a lot of cultures, people name babies based on the circumstances surrounding their birth, and then hopefully that name goes on to exert some sort of significant influence in your life. It's almost like your name is tied to your fate in some way or your purpose in life. So I wonder if that's why there was this strange moment of concern from Hikari when she points out that there's already another Haibane Ku who had a similar dream of floating in the air, suggesting that almost that you can't have two Haibane with the same name or same dream, otherwise something will go totally wrong. I'm not sure. My speculation is that maybe their names then determine what role they go on to have in this very closed society. And for that society to work, everyone has to have very distinct, unique roles. It's Hikari's reaction was just odd, as was the fact that it seemed everything went back to normal or was fine, only after Ku jumped in and was like, oh, actually, we're very different. My dream was floating in the air, whereas Raka's was falling through the air. So yeah, I'm not sure what would have happened if there are two Haibane that have the exact same dream. Maybe civil war erupts. Who knows? Curiously, Raka didn't mention the black crow that was flying beside her and trying to stop her from being born. And it's likely that she doesn't remember, but the omission itself kind of adds to my suspicion that there is something off about Old Home, and Raka maybe has been sent there either by accident or is going to shake this place up in some way, in a way that she's not meant to, or is meant to, depending on how you look at it. So also maybe there is something to Raka being named after her dream of falling. Out of the bunch, she is like the fallen angel, and fallen angels traditionally, as everyone knows, are known as the rejects of heaven. They have been expelled according to myth due to sinning against God, and they're seen as rebels and associated with the devil. There might even be significance to the fact that Raka has these charcoal grey wings. So charcoal grey does point to a bit of ambiguity. You know, they're neither totally white or black, so neither totally pure nor dark. And Reki also seemed to make out like it was a rare color. So I'd be curious to see as the story progresses whether it tracks this idea of Raka rebelling against Old Home, this world that she's been thrown into. Despite Haibane resembling angels, the actual process of adjusting to being one is almost clumsy and strangely manual. Like, I got a huge kick out of the fact that the halo gets taken out of a fry pan with tongs, and then Raka had trouble making it stick, and so they had to attach it with some wires. It just really brings you down from this idea of angels as being these very powerful beings, and the wings to themselves are like painfully concealed under the skin, and they rip out as they grow. And like the Haibane, they suffer high fevers during this process, and it was just brutal watching the whole wing growing process. Another note about the music there was the string music that they played when the wings were breaking out of the skin was super intense and really, really matched the anxiety that was just playing out on screen. And I think it was deliberately gruesome to juxtapose how different Haibane are from your typical angels, like those powerful, holy beings that are perfect creations of God. Instead, Haibane are almost cursed or I guess, mutations in some way. Like they are torn from their past lives and dumped into this sort of hollowed out existence. They also have to grow into these bodies through a long and very bloody, painful process. They don't just pop out like perfect angels. So maybe it's this metaphor for when the reality of something falls far short of the ideal. There was a sadness when Raka reflected on how the wings were slowly becoming a part of her, and she feels like she's gradually being turned into something else, which I found really relatable. This was something that had happened or was done to her, and she had no choice in the matter. Just like people are always grappling with things that are completely outside of their control and just hits them out of nowhere and leaves them feeling kind of helpless. So Raka's question, why me, was a perfectly legitimate one. And I wonder if we're going to interrogate whether or not this fate that she's been dealt with is the consequence of something bad that she did in a past life, or maybe the Haibane are paying for the sins of their families, or maybe at the end of the day, it really was just totally random that they were selected to be plucked away from their former lives and families, and now they're here, which I guess would be doubly tragic, but also kind of very true to real life, where sometimes shit just happens. There were moments of levity amongst all the mystery and the drama and the sadness, and by the end of the first episode, actually, Raka is getting used to her wings already, even coming to like them. So it's not like this existence is one that has to remain bleak forever. So, I mean, just look at how well adjusted the other Haibane are. And maybe there is also a lesson in that shit happens, but it's never the end of the road, and people have an amazing capacity to adapt and to survive. Speaking of which, the kindness that everyone shows at Old Home also probably has something to do with the adjustment. They're all in the same boat and they're clearly fond of each other, like some kind of big jumbly family. I also think Reki too is going to be a solid rock for Raka. She showed that she is compassionate and caring, probably because she too has been through the exact same process and ordeal and understands how difficult it is, not just in terms of the pain with the wings growing out and everything, but also the huge uncertainty of managing these gaps in your knowledge and being cut off from their previous lives and memories. All right, Haibane Renmei episode 2. Here we go in 3, 2, 1, play. Oh, this was definitely not the opening that we had in Ep 1. Am I surprised by this really folksy sounding OP? Not really. But it's definitely a contrast. That tambourine. It's quite a bit of technology in this place. Kind of like Industrial Revolution type tech. It's like an older looking Haibane there. Toga, town, and wall. Oh. I mean, it's pretty great facilities. Like the size of that room, your own personal bathroom. Feeling pain means they're really a part of my body. Interesting line there. I love how whipped that Reki is. Okay, I guess the Haibane do age. Those kids scared of her or just super curious? No. And like walking into the light shot. Oh, that's right, they get a bit greasy, don't they? Just get this odd feeling whenever they paint like a very idyllic sort of setting that old home is. It's run down, but it's peaceful, but there's also something ominous about it. Mm. That was an interesting distinction. Like, she can't remember the town she used to live in, but she definitely doesn't know this one. Mm. Okay, so still kind of like on her learner's license with the wings. Wait, what are they referring to? Okay, also just so curious since they're talking about picking up breakfast and stuff, is there some kind of economy in this place? Like, do they trade with money or is it more barter system? No, it's because she's just a pushover. I love this piano music, by the way. It's a lot of focus shots on Reki's cigarettes. That's why she's called Nemu. Okay. Yes, but who started? I was just gonna ask that exact question. Okay, so that's related to her career goals, I guess. Yeah, what she wants to be when she grows up. pebbles. What might that mean? Maybe she's just constantly on the moon trying to search for some ultimate purpose. Yeah, why are those three just hanging around? Oh, so they have to sign in and sign out of that building. It's kind of like very regimented in a way. Everything you do is like recorded. Even though, again, there's just this lovely sense of freedom and happiness and joy. I don't know. It's weird. I want to see where the edges of this town go to. House mother. Okay, but how do they ensure that people from the outside don't come in? Oh. Okay, so it sounds like humans kind of just tolerate the Haibane and they're like, we don't need this town, so here you have it. Hmm? That's such a nice town though. Wait, no, it looks like they do interact with humans. And that it's kind of treated as normal. Alright, we're seeing all the normies now. I like these like looks and glances that the characters trade with each other. Okay, that sounds oppressive. Only being allowed to wear used secondhand clothes. Why does it sound like they're just second class citizens in this town? Okay, humans have all know about Haibane. This is getting stranger by the second. They're like trading in stolen clothes because that's all they have access to. Hmm. Hey, there we go. There's the answer to the currency thing. Like, it's so weird. So they don't actually use the normal currency system. Oh my gosh, they trade in their feathers. He seems nice enough. Like, he's just kind of like, oh, I mean, things are what they are, but I don't have to treat you any less than. Okay, it seems very systemic the way that Haibane are treated by the general population. Again, doesn't leave a great feeling. Okay. It's so they're forced into this system of labor. They're not allowed to earn more than what they work for. I guess no investing, no buying land or property. Kept under very tight wraps, financially as well. Okay, so this is where they can't go beyond. Oh wait, the townspeople are stuck in there as well? Man, this is some like shitty hierarchical structure. Haibane Renmei just sound like glorified gangsters at this point. I wonder why they only use sign language. I guess it's just a special preserve so that other people don't understand. I bet only very little of the profits flows to the Haibane though. Man, I was that underlying. Hey, there's Mr. Crow. Was it warning her of the toga? Oh man, so they don't have a great view of crows. Maybe they're brought up with that because they symbolize something like something that's against the Haibane Renmei. Man, this is so interesting. Even just in this episode, they're layering on so much weird shit. How everything in the town works, why it is stuck in there. The fact that there are humans who are also stuck in there with them. The lack of knowledge that the characters have is just really upping the curiosity of this show. And we know now that Raka is definitely someone potentially who's meant to maybe tear down some of this unjust hierarchy. She doesn't know it yet, of course, but the crow in her dream definitely means something significant. Ironically, that's probably true. Kind of cool. Man, I wonder if Reki is the one who has always harbored doubts about the justness of the situation. Just needed an ally. Maybe the ally will be Raka. Maybe Reki's just hatching a a plan for rebellion. Oh, she prepared dinner. Hmm. Something's hatching in that head. Uh, mm. It's got full membership now. Reki is so soft. Oh, it's just Edie. I like the sound effects, like of being underwater. Man, I really like the soundtrack for this show. an odd episode, but it did add a lot of it did answer a lot of questions I had about how hard is it to be a Haibane in this life and in this town. And it seems like the answer is they are essentially trapped second class citizens, trapped by this faceless, at least so far, faceless organization known as the Haibane Renmei, that restricts where they go, how they trade for the goods that they need, and so they're not even allowed to have access to money. And on top of that, they are restricted from interacting with any outside contact. So all of these things add up to quite a very, not just quite, a very oppressive environment that seems to have been in place for a long enough time that everyone in that town and anyone who is born as a Haibane in that town has just come to accept that that is the way things are. And there is definitely a fear that is instilled in everyone to not overstep their boundaries and to just shut up and stick to this way of life. And there's something about the the Haibane Renmei communicator, who obviously had some sort of visceral reaction to Raka and the crow that was, it seemed like, was warning Raka about something. And there's significant fact that they don't have a face. So it feels like they are setting this Haibane Renmei organization up as kind of an evil overlord, big brother sort of entity. And I wonder if that'll change down the track, but yeah, we'll see. This is actually fascinating. Straight to episode 3, and we'll see if any more incriminating or disturbing information comes to light. I do love how they're still drip feeding us these more darker bits of information through the other Haibane who have just learned to stick to the rules and not cause any trouble. But there is a sense that the happy, bubbly bits of the show is covering up for something much more sinister underneath. So, yeah, here we go in 3, 2, 1, play. Even this OP, this very cheerful, positive, major sounding OP, does not reflect in any way, shape, or form the oppression that the Haibane and even the townspeople who are also restricted within the walls are subject to. It's like, don't push your luck, don't step a toe out of line and you'll be fine. You know, even though you still have to wear secondhand clothes, you can't earn your own money, you have to consign yourself to living in this town your whole life. Yeah, I wonder how Raka is gonna burn everything down. I'm already assuming that Raka is gonna be a troublemaker. Even though at this stage she is still trying to just figure out how her wings work. I wonder if the crow is like this ultimate pancakes communicator temple. Okay. Yeah, if the crow is actually some magical being in crow form that's trying to free all the people from this town. The communicator also kind of was like wearing very ostentatious, very showy, almost religious looking robes. So I wonder if it's this whole show is some kind of commentary on religious traditions or bureaucracies. Is that ring kind of grey? Or was it just the colouring? Wait a second. What was that trail on the ground, though? Did she really just fall out of bed? Hmm. I want to see. Maybe it's some escape plan. She's working on, just hiding some eventual plan to break him all out. Maybe it's like a weapons storage. Reki just seems ready to get out of this place. Yes, they even have a temple for the organization. Definitely sounds religious. Maybe not religious, just symbolic of um, a bureaucracy that's overly controlling and restrictive of other people's lives. Maybe because she's planning a full-scale rebellion. Outskirts of the outskirts. Okay, so there's some kind of superstition against death-related things, which is probably why they hate crows. It's stuck too much. Why? Why is she always like that? Dodgy. Hikari is one to just hold a lot of things to herself. I mean, I would be terrified. I wonder what happens if they die as a Haibane. Do they just get reborn again? I mean, this trip better be worth it. It's like you can die literally 10 times on the way. Oh, it's like built into the mountain. Definitely projects strength. Oh, very reminiscent of like Death, um, with the scythe. I mean, the Reaper. Oh, it's so anyone can hear them approaching. That's why they put bells on them. They can't sneak around undetected. This just keeps getting worse and worse. Oh, but what if she can't control her wings yet? Yeah, she's gonna have issues. It's like Voice of God. Do not get good vibes from the fact they're also not allowed to speak in the temple. It's like they're treated as some kind of infected or something. This is most definitely a cult. Man. Just laying down the good law immediately. I don't know. I feel like they're not there to help them out of trouble. It's just to make them stay out of so-called trouble. Anything that'll endanger their grip hold on this society. So dodge, man. I mean, that happens. Like, sometimes you just develop very quickly a skill because of immense pressure. I mean, working in a bakery sounds nice, but still, you can't be paid in money, and it's like you have to work for your place in this town. It's I don't know, something off about that. Reki with an apron on. Again, implying that it's happened before. He was very patronizing about it, wasn't he? Reki doesn't seem scared of him. Ask it, come on. Okay, so basically Reki is holding his place together. Probably can't break out because she cares too much about all the Haibane still stuck here. I don't know why it just feels like a system of indentured servitude, to be honest. They have like Haibane ceilings. Okay, and also they're fed like shit food. I bet like he's actually sneakily feeding them the proper real food. Oh, that was a dirty move, Reki. What is with his percussion? Oh, she's too smart too. That got totally conned. Okay. I mean, they could just eat Raka for dinner, I guess. Okay, so the house mother is also a decent person. Literal carrot and stick. Whoa, it's asserting authority already. What other kind is there? I wonder how much that cost. Foreshadowing. So Ku was the one who was just floating in the air. Every time those crows appear, it's a none so subtle like wink at the underlying symbolism. And I am curious to see the working conditions that Hikari has. Okay, so they're paid even in just in sugar cubes. It's like I wonder if they have to control the older feathers a lot more closely because, they're more independent, more capacity for independent thinking, which might lead to, questioning the system. Hmm. Okay, so this is some deep-seated lesson to treat everything fairly. Don't judge by appearance. Maybe maintain an open mind about people, things who look different to you. Man, it's just every time these bits of information gets sprinkled on us, it's like they it's the oldest bakery in town. It's like they actually live under segregation. Even there are nice people in the town who don't treat Haibane meanly, but just systemically they are treated as less than. I mean, it doesn't seem too bad to work in a bakery like this, especially if people are nice to you. Oh. Halo donuts. Oh, isn't that sacrilegious? Hikari. Oh my goodness, that is an amazing reason for why she wanted to be the ring bearer, I guess. So good. That's great. Like, even Hikari shows that there's part of her that is like, well, we don't have to stick to the rules 100%. There's room to, finesse the sides and stuff. Okay, so Reki came in as a child, as a young fella too. That sadness, contemplating look. Wait, why? Why is she sorry? Is it because she used the same pen that she used to give Raka's halo prior to that? She used it to make like bread or donut. I don't know. Oh man, what a strange turn of events. It's like the Haibane in this town are given just enough perks and like sort of a pleasant kind of living situation, enough that they don't question it or that they don't have really any incentive to wonder why it is that they're only allowed to work in certain parts of town or in certain jobs, why they're only allowed to wear secondhand clothes, and why they're not allowed to talk in a lot of situations, why they have to take instruction unquestioningly from the communicator who seems to be like, make sure you stay in line, be a good Haibana, and make sure that you do your job. Um, yeah, we haven't really gone into the consequences for what happens when a Haibane steps outside of those guidelines, those rules. Can't imagine it would be any good, and maybe Reki as someone who definitely seems to be on top of things and is hiding away her thoughts very deep down, Reki seems to be the only one that has any inkling of the fact that the situation they find themselves in is very wrong. That's it for this week, guys. I don't have too many additional thoughts other than what I've already spitballed about. I basically am just looking forward to Reki and Raka joining forces and tearing down this horribly oppressive system of indentured servitude and restrictive movement and access and I guess financial control over the lives of so many. Who knows, maybe there is a case to be made for the Haibane Renmei to be doing this to people and being so mysterious and overbearing and controlling of so many people's lives, but it's going to be a strong case they're going to have to mount. The recurring motif of the crow just appearing in all different places, and Ku's very astute observation that, maybe we have to be open-minded about things that maybe scare us a little bit and just sort of not accept the things the way that they are. Maybe that's going to come into play as we get more of the story. Final thing, I guess, is just I guess I kind of nailed it when I had this foreboding feeling that all is not well in this town, but it definitely turned out worse than I ever thought it was. So we'll see if things keep getting worse or if there is actually a justifiable case that can be built for why things are the way that they are. It's literally a town that is under segregation laws or something similar. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed those episodes, and I look forward to really digging into this story with you guys. So until next time, take care and have a good day.